Desolation, a short Dvar Torah for Parashat Bechukotai. Despite Ibn Ezra's words this week between the blessings and the curses, that only empty-minded people think there are more curses than blessings because the blessings are stated in a general terms, while the curses are detailed, it's hard to ignore that there are many more verses in the Parasha dealing with curses than blessings. Therefore, I ask that you don't feign surprise when I focus on verses from the curses. On the other hand, most commentators saw more consolation than calamity in our verse, so perhaps you are entitled to a measure of surprise after all. In the heart of our curses, there is a desolate passage. I mean this quite literally. At the center of the verses of curses is a cluster of the root sh.m.m, desolation. I will make your sanctuaries desolate, all the days of desolation, and in their midst, verse lamed, which is heart, I will make the land sh.m.m, desolate, and your enemies who dwell in it, sh.m.m, will be desolate over it. In these verses, the cities and sanctuaries are ruined and, as mentioned, desolate, and the land will remain desolate until it completes the period of Shabbat that it did not observe when the people dwelt in it. Thus far, things are relatively simple. The desolation comes as part of the curse in the verses. The complicated part is the other half of verse lamed. What exactly happens with the enemies who dwell in it? According to Rashi, a bit of consolation was smuggled in here. Although the desolation in the verses comes as a curse upon the deserving Israelites for their sins, it's not given over to their enemies who expelled them and tried to settle the land in their place. Despite all attempts, the land will remain faithful and desolate until the day the wayward children return to make it blossom anew. It's a good thing that Rashi's encouraging words were repeated like a mantra by commentators throughout the ages. In midrashim, medieval and modern exegesis, these helped illuminate the dark exile with some optimism and hope, and resonated widely. On the other hand, it's unclear what a consoling sentence is doing in the middle of the passage about curses. That's probably why sh.m.m disagrees with his grandfather and his faction, and explains that according to the literal meaning, the verse isn't about desolation and the enemies not being able to make the land blossom, but rather about the great surprise that will seize the enemy who saw the land in its glory and now sees it in its ruins. Or, as it's written in Yirmiyahu, all who pass by will be appalled, yishom, and will hiss at all its wounds. Beyond the complicated context sh.m.m proposes to solve with his words, I believe his answer opens a window to the human soul. When a person is struck, it hurts him. When someone else sees him being stricken, he's also ashamed by that same blow. When the land is forsaken and desolate, that's one blow. The enemies who speak of the shameful reality add another aspect to the curse. And if I opened with Ibn Ezra's words, allow me to conclude with his words as well. Ibn Ezra goes back to interpreting that the Gentiles who dwelt in the land will suffer from the desolation, but he still notes that it's a curse, not a blessing. So desolate will it be that even your enemies who dwell in it will be appalled at it, the opposite of the joy of the whole earth. First, as is Ibn Ezra's way, he tosses in a play of words. If will be desolate, sh.m.m, instead of joy, mesos mem shin shin. However, although I enjoy the wordplay, I believe there are two more substantial things that he's saying here. The first has to do with the Jewish people's role in the world. Our role, told the Gentiles, is to be their joy, mesos, something that cannot be done with the desolate sh.m.m land. The second, which I find more fascinating, corresponds with sh.m.m's words, but lifts it a few notches. If sh.m.m holds the punishment is the shame suffered by the punished, I believe Ibn Ezra thinks there is a much more severe punishment, the inability to fulfill what is expected of you. You were supposed to be a mesos, that's your role, but that didn't happen, and therefore that aspect has been frozen in your role. Which of these interpretations do I identify with? Fortunately, I don't think I have to choose between them. One can live an optimistic life while being ashamed of negative actions and taking responsibility for one's role in the world all at once. What else would you expect of Dovi Holtz, one who loves Tanakh? In memory of my heroic and beloved student Amichai Shimon ben Ishai and Batya Robin, sh.m.m.